Hey, what's going on, guys? TBL here, and today we're coming back at you live in the flesh because I simply have to talk about something. Today I'm going to be giving you a somewhat quick, spoiler-free review of the movie Suicide Squad. Jay and I just got back, well, kind of just got back from seeing that not too long ago, and I just gotta talk about this movie. I've got to talk about it. For some reason, it's super divisive between fans and critics on the opinion of whether or not this is a decent movie. And I just felt like, I've seen it, I've got an opinion on it, I've got several opinions on it, and what better way to get those out than to make a video to you guys. So this is going to be my video review of Suicide Squad, and that review is basically that it's a fantastic film. It's really fantastic. I have no idea why critics are raging against it so hard, no idea why this is the hill they're choosing to die on. Suicide Squad is a very fun movie. I had a lot of fun watching it. It kept me entertained throughout. It's got a good mix of action, intrigue, a little bit of intrigue in there, especially with the Joker-Harley Quinn relationship, and a lot of heart, in my opinion. I mean, really, I can't really understand where some of the negative reviews are coming from. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I mean that. It's a very, very fun movie. Will Smith's character was played very well and brings the primary amount of humor to the film, and it's not comedy to the point that it takes away from the drama and the action that's going on. It's, to me, a perfect mixture of action, intrigue, and just having a good time. I went in there not really expecting the film to be the greatest thing ever, but kind of expecting it to be bad, and walked out pleasantly surprised that the movie was awesome. Now, overall, the pacing of the film is okay. There are a couple of moments, really one scene in particular, or rather one set of scenes in particular that I can think of, where the pacing was just a little bit off. It traveled a little bit too fast. We kind of go from one scene to kind of a large logical jump into another one. It's like, oh, okay, well, how did that happen? I guess this is where we are now. But other than that, the movie is very good, very fun, and very easy to follow. It is not the convoluted mess that Batman vs. Superman was and is, even with the Ultimate Edition. There's a lot of build-up for the main villain, who actually took me by surprise. I'm not going to be spoiling anything here, but I think with the way the marketing worked, it had everybody expecting the villain to be one character when it wound up being another. And it's not an out-of-nowhere sort of thing. It's set up in the very beginning of the movie that this plan of Amanda Waller's probably isn't going to work out the way she wants it to. You know, that's cool. That's kind of what I wanted out of the film, so I got that. Now, in my opinion, Suicide Squad is an ensemble cast movie handled very, very well. You're interested in these characters. You even care about some of them by the time the end of the movie comes around. And in particular, of course, Harley Quinn and Deadshot, I think, are handled really, really well. They're the two main characters of this film. They're the ones you're going to be caring about. They're the ones whose stories we really dive into. And I think the movie does a good job of establishing that emotional link with them. You start to really feel for Will Smith's Deadshot. He's not a bad guy. He's not a supervillain, and his character doesn't look at himself as a supervillain. He looks at himself as a somewhat nice guy who does bad things because he's good at doing bad things, and the bad things pay really well. When it comes to Harley Quinn, oh man, that's a section in and of itself. Margot Robbie, I think, did a fantastic job. It's like if you took Tara Strong and said, all right, Tara, you get to be Harley in real life now. Have fun. I mean, she plays just kind of absolute cuckoo bird crazy super duper well. And we have some classic Batman the Animated Series callbacks in there. She calls the Joker Mr. J. She calls him her puddin'. And that's pretty much all I wanted from that character. And we got that and so much more. But again, this movie handles an ensemble cast in a really, really good way. Even some of the lesser characters, like Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang and Killer Croc, you care about them. They have shining spots in the movie. This movie handles a group of characters that mainstream audiences have probably never, ever heard of, and gives them a little bit of backstory, just a little bit of a taste of backstory so you can understand where those characters are coming from, and somehow by the end of the film get you to care quite a bit about at least a few of these characters. We don't get to hear much from characters like Captain Boomerang and Killer Croc. We certainly don't get to see much of their past. Just the little bits in the beginning of the movie where they do kind of setup shots of each character and they have like their rap sheet and what they can do, and it's great. You get to see a lot of cameos in this too. But by the end of the film, you really like Captain Boomerang. He's really, really funny. You really like Killer Croc. You get this idea that, he's also like Deadshot. He's not that bad a guy. He's just been treated like a monster his whole life. And especially Diablo. I think the character of Diablo is probably one of the standout stars of this. It's just, no spoilers here, but he's a really interesting character, and I think you're really gonna like his portrayal here. Now, overall, this is a film with a decent amount of comedy that doesn't really overpower the ongoing sense of drama and dread that the film evokes with its main villain, or villains if you want to call them that. Alright, now character-wise, basically, this is the Deadshot and Harley Quinn movie. So if you're looking for Captain Boomerang to be taking the lead, or even Rick Flag, the team's leader, to be the center point of the plot going on, well, Rick Flag has an important part, but it's really the Deadshot Harley Quinn movie. This movie spends a lot of time explaining who these characters are, why they are where they are, and why they why they act the way they act, especially in the case of Harley Quinn, who, again, played by Margot Robbie, does a fantastic, fantastic job. You get a lot of backstory with her, and of course, that ties in with the Joker. Now, a lot of people were, of course, concerned about Jared Leto's portrayal of the Joker. Is it gonna live up to, say, Jack Nicholson? Is it gonna live up to Heath Ledger? And kind of, but in its own way. He's not that type of Joker. In fact, I'd say he's actually closer to Jack Nicholson's gangster Joker than he is Heath Ledger's, kind of crazy criminal mastermind Joker. I get like a real mafia Richard Nixon vibe from Jared Leto's Joker. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. He plays a very interesting character, but he's not the main focus of the film. If you're looking for this to be a Joker film, it's not really a spoiler to tell you this. He's more of a side story that's ongoing concurrently with the plot. And I'm not mad about that. I of course wanted to see more Joker in this film, but I hope that's going to be saved for the standalone Batman film. It's already been established via Batman vs. Superman that Joker and Batman have history. They've got a lot of history. They even hinted at some very specific Batman stories that I'm not going to spoil here in this video because, you might want to go look it up, or you might want to be surprised in the new Batman movie. But let me assure you, Jared Leto's performance as Joker here it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm actually really interested in seeing more, and I almost wish there was more of him in the movie, but I think he did a good job. He had a decent enough presence that I don't feel too bad about him only having maybe about 10 to 15 minutes in the movie. Plot-wise, the film it's pretty easy to follow. Again, we don't have a Batman versus Superman sort of thing here where it's just a completely nonsensical plot where a bunch of disconnected scenes are thrown together and said, hey, there's a movie. We get a good build-up for this, and the final villain, I didn't have too much of a problem with it. It went about the way I would have expected things to go. But let's talk a little bit about Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller's character played by Viola Davis. Who, man, if any of you comic fans out there, if there are any of you out there, you know who Amanda Waller is. And let me just say, this movie does her justice. She is a cold-hearted being a C. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything with this plot, but Viola Davis plays this extremely ruthless government woman very, 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 very well. In a lot of ways, she's scarier than a lot of the villains that we've got in this movie. And that's good. That's a good thing. That's who Amanda Waller is supposed to be. And her character was handled fantastically. The other standout again from this is Diablo. I think El Diablo was handled so well in this movie. He's kind of the tragic character of the film. And again, I won't spoil anything for you, but you've probably seen from some of the trailers, he's the pacifist of the group. He's done a lot. He's someone who's done a lot of bad things. A lot of bad things in the past. And just kind of wants to coast and not hurt anything anymore. He's got kind of the whole B.A. Baracus thing going on where I found peace in prison. Kind of. After I burned a bunch of people to a crisp, not just like you burn a piece of toast, but if you were to take that toast and put it in a fire, and then take that fire and put it in a bigger fire. So yeah, El Diablo's character came across really, really well, and it just kind of adds back into the way they handled this ensemble cast. You get some backstory from some of them, but all of them have a great amount of screen time. They all have a great amount of screen time. There's some great lines thrown in there, a lot of really funny moments brought by Will Smith in a way that only Will Smith can do. By the way, he's basically playing himself in this film, and it works really, really well in my opinion. You start to really care about these characters, and when you reach a pivotal scene, in my opinion, towards the end of the middle of the film, we'll just call it the bar scene, you really feel like you've connected to these characters on an emotional level. And that's something, you know, Batman vs. Superman can't claim. Batman vs. Superman had that supposedly emotional moment where you're supposed to connect with the characters, and you just didn't feel it because they weren't set up right at all. That's not a problem with this movie. You're probably going to love the way the characters are handled. You might want to see a little bit more of some of the other ones like Killer Croc. But overall, I think this movie was handled very, very well, and I had a lot of fun with it. There was one plot moment that has to do with one character, again, I'm not going to spoil it, that was a little bit off-putting. It was kind of like, okay, why would that character do that? Again, it's not that big of a thing, and overall plot-wise, it's not that important. But it was just kind of a moment that took me out of the film a bit, because it's like, oh, well, why would they do that? It's kind of weird. But other than that, Suicide Squad is absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. It is by no means a perfect film. By no means is it a perfect film. It's definitely got some problems, again, with pacing in a couple of the earlier scenes. It goes on a little bit long in the beginning, setting everybody up. I'm actually kind of happy it did, though, because it gave you the backstory you kind of wanted on some of these characters. You get a lot of cameos in this movie, especially in the beginning. We all know Batman's in it, but I'll just say he's not the only League member who shows up in this movie. Maybe if I do a spoiler video after this, I'll talk a bit more about the plot and what's been going on there, but it's fun. I really enjoy it, and I would absolutely recommend anybody out there who's a little on the fence about whether or not they're going to like it, go see it. It's absolutely, it's worth your time to go and see this movie to see if you'll like it. It's not like Batman vs. Superman. This one might actually be worth your time. But alright guys, it's pretty much my review of Suicide Squad. I really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with it, and I would encourage anyone out there to go and see it for yourself and make up your own mind. I am definitely opposed to the critical reviews that have been coming out as of late. But if you've seen the movie, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it, and what you thought of this video. I might start doing more facecam real-life reviews of things and stuff. If you guys like it, I don't know, let me know. Just tell me. But alright, it's going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching this review video. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty. And hopefully we'll catch you in the next one.